So when was the last time the weight of your own mistakes just felt, completely crushing, like it's just heavy sitting right there on your chest?
Oh, yeah. We all know that exact feeling. It's awful.
Right. Well, today on our deep dive, we are actually flipping that crushing feeling entirely upside down. We're decoding this deeply counterintuitive phrase from Matthew 5.4, which is, "Blessed are those who mourn." And to do that, we're leaning into a devotional by Pastor Hezekiah.
And he draws heavily on the theology of John MacArthur for this, right?
Exactly, yeah. Okay, let's unpack this. Usually when we think of mourning, we think of like an emotional injury. Something terrible happens to you and you grieve. But this source frames it completely differently. It's less like dwelling on an injury and more like declaring emotional bankruptcy.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, you stop pretending you can pay off the debt of your mistakes.
Yeah.
You finally admit you're broke, and in doing so, the debt gets entirely wiped clean.
That bankruptcy analogy really hits the core of it. Because, we really have to separate this from typical sadness to understand the actual mechanism here. I mean, in the original Greek of the New Testament, there are like 9 different words used to describe grief.
Wait, 9? That is a lot of words for grief.
Yeah, they were very specific, and the specific word used here for "blessed are those who mourn" does not mean worldly sorrow.
Okay, so we aren't talking about physical suffering or, grieving a death. It's not the physical and mental anguish of Job losing everything, or like the biblical story of sisters mourning their brother Lazarus.
Right, exactly. Pastor Helm points out that, well, those are profound sorrows, obviously, but this specific phrase targets what he calls spiritual mourning. It is this deep internal sorrow strictly over your own personal flaws and sins.
Wow.
Yeah, it's basically the pain of looking in the mirror and seeing exactly where you fall short.
Okay, I have to push back here for a second, because dwelling on our failures usually just leads to a massive shame spiral, right?
Yeah.
I mean, modern psychology tells us to forgive ourselves, practice self-compassion, just move forward.
Sure, that's the standard advice today.
So how is ruminating on how terrible we're supposed to be a blessing that leads to happiness? That just feels totally backward.
It does sound like a recipe for depression, I totally get that, until you look at what this specific mourning actually triggers. What's fascinating here is that it doesn't leave you in despair, because the goal isn't self-pity. The goal is unburdening.
Unburdening. Okay, how does that work?
Well, when you honestly confront your absolute worst moments, like without any PR spin or making excuses, it creates the space for genuine, unearned forgiveness from God.
Oh, right. Which brings to mind King David in Psalm 32. He talks about the absolute physical and mental relief of having his sins covered.
Yes, perfectly said. David describes his bones literally wasting away when he kept silent about his flaws, just the physical toll of holding it in.
Yep.
But when he finally confessed, the relief was immediate. It's the joy of a clear debt. I mean, you simply can't feel the euphoria of having a massive debt forgiven if you're busy pretending you aren't in debt in the first place.
That makes so much sense. So theoretically, owning your worst flaws brings relief. But how does someone actually survive doing that in practice, without just collapsing under the weight of it all?
Right, it sounds terrifying. Let's look at the 4th century philosopher Augustine as a case study. Talk about a life of extremes.
Oh, definitely.
Augustine is like the perfect embodiment of this paradox. By the time he was 20, he was this brilliant academic and professor in Carthage.
So on paper, he was incredibly successful. He had it all together.
Totally. But internally, his personal life was highly corrupt. He was driven entirely by lust, sensory temptation, and just massive intellectual pride.
Meanwhile, his mother, Monica, prayed for him for over 33 years. I mean, 3 decades of just waiting for him to figure it out.
Yeah, mothers really are amazing, and her patience eventually paid off. Augustine experiences this dramatic conversion in Milan, and what he does next radically illustrates this concept of spiritual mourning we're talking about.
What do you do?
He writes this massive autobiographical work in Latin called Confessions.
Which is basically history's ultimate my bad. It's, this brutally honest unburdening of all his pride and temptations. He literally lays all his worst behavior out for the world to read.
Exactly. And doing so is exactly what allowed him to lay the foundational theology for grace and free will. Think about the logic here.
Okay, lay it on me.
You can only fully grasp the concept of unearned forgiveness once you've publicly admitted you are entirely incapable of being perfect on your own.
Oh, I see.
By owning his total lack of control, he understood grace on a mechanical level, and that clarity brought him profound freedom.
Wow, so you really have to feel the weight to experience the relief of it being lifted. Pastor Hugh is directly challenging our modern culture here, aren't they? Our culture just constantly pushes us to focus on external achievements and, like, superficial positivity.
Right, we all want the blessing without the uncomfortable self-reflection part.
Yeah, exactly. We want the easy way out. But total freedom and lasting joy only come from first confronting our own unworthiness. Like you said, you have to admit you're broke before the debt gets canceled.
Precisely. It is a tough pill to swallow, but the reward is immense.
It really is. Which leaves us with a really provocative question to mull over today as we wrap up this deep dive. If acknowledging our deepest, most uncomfortable flaws is actually the only gateway to experiencing total unburdened freedom, what heavy hidden mistake are you actively avoiding confronting right now? And how much lighter would you feel if you just finally owned it?